Should be online now. All right. All right. I think we're a go here. So I was messing with the head a little bit, and it was not really coming out very good. So I don't know if I really care to try to use like what I was doing last time with like this base model. I don't know if it's necessary. Um, but it is an interesting experiment, I suppose. Might mess around a little bit more, but wasn't really coming out to anything. I think what I do want to try is at least practice a little bit on here. Um, so there is, so I do have this reference image here. I want to go back and duplicate it and move it a bit here. Let's look at that. Yeah. So we'll mess around with this a bit. Maybe if I get the side proportions more aligned to what I want to see, it will help. Get this ear, move that a bit too. And then this too. Oh, you know what? This actually is more. Closer to that. I also just really struggled to get the lips sculpted. Try to look at the side profile. We'll mess with this a little bit. Okay, the ear kind of died. That's okay. We'll kill the ear and we'll redo it. I think if I smooth it enough, oh goodness. Alright, that's unfortunately the problem when you're trying to use like the grab brush exclusively. It just really, you just have trouble on the sides. You know what? We're gonna do this. X that. I'm gonna put these back together. Not that I necessarily want to copy this exactly, but I do want to copy it to see a couple things. One, just to like kind of practice it, but also like see if I could even get the look any good, and see if it's something I want to like continue working with for like her face. Although if we look at like her existing head, if I can find it. Hide these for a sec. Like, I mean, let me add all the stuff too. Like, it works when it's simplified like this as far as the tune shading style goes, but I'll struggle with the nose and the mouth area, so we may also just have to play around the normals as well on the nose and stuff like that. So maybe we just have to do a little more work. But before we do that, let's just mess around with a new head. Hey, thanks for stopping in. Just messing around with the stream. Yeah, welcome. More of the same stuff, messing around with heads. Let's see. Oops. Shift A. Just gonna add a subdivided cube here. That'll do. And we're just gonna get it to similar, something like that. Now I can go into sculpt mode. So it's a little hard to tell. I'm going to just do this from scratch a little bit. Okay, so oh crap. I didn't mirror it. No. Here, I'll go back, show you a sec. Think I might be screwed here. I didn't mirror it. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back. So the head proportions are a little weird. I thought maybe I'd give some adjustments to it and see if I can make it better. The nose is also... It's mostly with the nose and the lips that I want to see if I could improve. But the reality is probably it's not going to get better, or I'm not going to be able to make it better now. But I want to spend a little bit of time messing around and see what I could do. What I'll probably end up doing is using something similar like this, but see if I could adjust maybe like the side profile of the nose, and then maybe like we'll have to probably texture on the lips. But I wanted to see if I could give the lips a little bit more volume too. So we'll have to see. It's also kind of delicate balance because of the tune shading. So if you try to sculpt something a bit more like, yeah, like a more realistic nose or lips or something like that, you're still at the mercy of the tune shading. So it won't look as good. But I do want to mess with it a little bit because I'm generally curious to see. But we can fall back on this. Like, I took a shortcut here at the lips here where I just basically put some topology in there. But it does have some issues. So okay, another question. You know how to make a tornado effect? I do not, but I have found a good YouTube channel that specializes in special effects in Godot. Um, his name is Lee Lu. Let me see if I could find that real quick. I would check him out. He might be what you're looking for. I think he's in my subscriptions. Yeah, here he is. Yeah. He's your guy. Alright, anyway. Let's try the head exercise again. A cube subdivided a bunch of times. Some tips for starting out with Godot. That depends. Is Godot your very first game engine, or if you worked in other game engines before? I had the experience of working in other game engines prior to Godot. I've been doing this for a long time, so, but mostly as a hobby, and I've never published anything. There are a variety of reasons for that, but but basically, I'd say getting started in Godot is I think focus more on getting stuff to work than getting stuff to look good. What I mean by that is like, don't obsess over like your node hierarchy or the way your code looks or if your code's maintainable or not. That stuff will come with practice, and that stuff you can hone in as you actually get more comfortable with actually implementing stuff. Because the most important thing is that things work, and if you could quickly get things to work, the quicker you're able to actually like play test your game and determine if things are actually fun. So it's so that's kind of what I would say is like I go all the way back to like Flash ActionScript days. And I made this little golf game that was kind of like a top-down golf game. And I remember writing like thousands of lines of code, and it was all in just like one frame script. It was horrendous. I remember just trying to debug it, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? But at the same time, that's okay, because that's what you do as a beginner. You just try to get stuff to work, and the more you get to work, the better you understand the code. The semantics and stuff is something that we tend to focus on a little too much, myself included. But I advise staying away from that until you're more comfortable with actually implementing stuff. Anyway, let me try this again, because I messed up on the mirror thing. I do see a couple other questions. I'll be there right moment. Let me just... Because you can see here, like, I too am trying to, I'm experimenting with something right now. I too am trying to learn something. So I'm going to try to drag this to make a jaw shape. See, the grab tool like does this. It's a little tough sometimes, but I'll just correct it. Just just use smooth. Just make a generic shape for the head here. Actually, I think, yeah, there is like a shadow there. Okay, let's take a look at what we got. Okay, so smooth it down a little bit. Get this to and because I smoothed it, I gotta reline everything. That's fine now. Yeah, how's that look? Okay. Okay, here we go. Hey, thank you for joining. Yeah, there are some approaches to that. I'm just trying to explore something. I want to try to see if I could get this style of head replicated. See if it's actually like going to work. But outside of that, might still just have to default to what I have and kind of see if I can improve it. Anyway, so other questions here. So what's the general plot of our world? So if you've heard of, I don't know how much you're familiar with anime, but there's a subgenre of anime called isekai. And this story, I've been thinking about this, like, brainstorming this story for a really long time, and this was before I even knew isekai was a thing. But basically, we have a couple of friends that were transported to a new world. And then there's also just kind of like a plot there in a new world as well. But how do I describe it? But it's slightly different in the sense that, and a lot of like isekai, there's, you know, really big worlds that have like big cultures and stuff like that. But the concept here is that this world that they're transported to was the figment of a dreams of one person. So it was designed by basically one human being. It's smaller and it has some flaws to it. But the idea is that the world was designed to be a utopia. So the idea is that people live in relative harmony. They basically have all the resources they need, and they, for the most part. However, because basically the person who created this world has been living in this world for 25 years or so, and has done things to the world to impact it negatively. It's not the same as it used to be. So in some senses, what's happening is that these characters, the three boys who transport to this world, basically the plot opens in the sense that the three boys just try to find each other and go home. But as they get more involved into like the world and like the people in it, they kind of start to sense that there's a lot more going on than they realize. Yeah. It's similar basis, but I plan to flesh it out more kind of in two different directions. As one is more about the themes, is like a big theme of mine is also just kind of like, you know, chasing your dreams, but there's also the aspect of that, you know, you want to be, you know, aware of reality, and not that reality is a bad thing, but there, you know, limitations and things do exist, and I think it's about coming to terms to it, and also just kind of, you know, the pursuit of dreams is a good thing, but we also, you know, kind of learning how to adapt to it and kind of our attachment to it. And then there's the other aspect is too is just the imperfections of the world. Because it was designed by like one person, I think it would be really cool to go in a direction world building where you could kind of see, you can learn a lot about this particular person who built the world just by interacting with the world and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I like to see. Um, okay. Are there some mini goals I should achieve? Also, I've messed around a bit with Game Maker. I don't know if you would count Scratch. Um, goals that you mini goals. It depends on kind of how you feel like you get stuff done the best. Some people really like to set goals and approach it that way. Some people just like to dive in and just try to make something. Um, I was the latter. Since I like really started getting into game development in middle school, um, I basically just opened up Game Maker and made a bunch of random crap that was demented and not very good, but it was fun. Um, I think really your goal is just gonna at first is just gonna be to make something. It doesn't even have to be good, but like if you can make a game that functions, and it's like pretty cool. Typically the advice they give is don't try to make like a big project right away. Although what you're kind of seeing is that that's the approach I'm taking, but the part of the reason I'm doing that is because I also have been doing this for so long. I do know how to make games, so that's not really the problem for me. The other problem is also too is just like I cannot think for the life of me like how to build a small project. I just can't. I don't have any good ideas there. The only idea I have is really just this grand thing. So I'm just going to roll with it. But the reason why that advice is given usually is because when you're a beginner, you don't want to basically build your magnum opus right away because you don't understand enough about game development. It's But that being said, it could also vary because you might be good at learning as you go. So like if you want to build this big thing, you could probably work toward that, and you end up just kind of learning how to do it in the process. I think a lot of indies that you're familiar with have done that. I don't know to what extent they've gotten into game development and like built small projects, but I think for the most part people like the guy did like Stardew Valley or Undertale were kind of similar in that regard, where they just kind of made the thing and they learned as they went along with it. I guess all I'd say though is that just be mindful of your scope. If your goal is to make like an ultimate game, be mindful that things take longer than they may seem, and that's mostly due to external factors. And this is pretty much true with anything. It's like if you sit down and you are completely unimpeded and you bang out a bunch of stuff, yeah, things get done pretty quickly. The problem though is then you'll run into issues like you might not know how to do a certain thing, or you run into this bug that you don't know where it is, or there's this particular feature that the game engine doesn't support very well. Plus, you got your outside life factors too. Like you got, if you're working or going to school, that's going to take some time away. Some of that workload might change too. So it's very easy to fall into a trap of not being able to get as much you like done, but also in the trap it'd be like, oh, I got so much done, if only I could just keep doing it this way forever. It's just difficult to maintain that sense of flow forever, just because life's a thing. Outside of that, so my last stream crashed because I tried to remesh this very small. I did go back and I found the shortcut key for this little thing here. So I could do, if I press R while in sculpt mode, I can bring up this little grid and help me measure kind of like my voxel size. I was trying to do that before. I knew it existed, but Blender changed the shortcut. So it went from like Shift R to just R, and then Control R to remesh. So now now. Now I remeshed it, so this makes it a little easier to go back and do what I need to do. Okay. I don't think we have to worry about this quite as much, but I'm going to do a little bit of that. Okay, so that gets the chin shape. And I can do more sweeping changes here too. And I can remesh it, you know, when I make changes like this. Okay, so we'll have to flatten, or we'll have to give this a little bit more volume here too. Alright, let's take a look at the shape here. So another thing I like to do, generally speaking, is get this like that. Okay. Pull this back a little bit. So generally the front of the face is flatter than you would normally expect. I'm going to adjust this shape here. But I do want to, let's see, let me leave that. Although one thing I'm seeing here is the bulge here on the head. Let's flatten that a little bit. Okay, so instead I'm just gonna move basically the whole thing. There we go. And then we can kind of work with this. Alright. What's an efficient way of learning to code? I'm just stuck watching tutorials and I don't think I've learned much. Are you asking too many questions? No, not at all. I'm happy to answer whatever I can as long as I have answers, but we'll go for that. So no problem there. Efficient way of learning how to code. Just trying to think. You know, typically it's like tutorials, stuff like that. It varies person to person, and I think part of it is understanding your learning style a bit better. I think the idea of learning styles is somewhat underdeveloped because like I think if we understood how we learned better, we could learn a lot faster. For me, I learn very well through example, and actually doing. So videos do work pretty well for me, generally speaking. But I tend to learn best if I'm able to apply things at the time that they're being taught. Um, Also, I learn very well by relating concepts to other things I do know. So if you're able to find analogies for things, that could be very helpful learning, because then you just be like, oh, that's just like doing this, or that's just like doing that. You know, programming is very math oriented, so you probably can find that, you know, the way you write code does kind of work a lot like math. So you're adding, subtracting things, but also just understanding that programming is basically the computer does exactly what you tell it to do. So it's kind of like understand. I think another thing to over time, this makes more sense over time, is that eventually you'd be able to intuitively understand how computers work when you're programming. You know, humans are very intuitive creatures, but computers are not intuitive at all. They're very rigid, explicit things. So you have to tell it basically what to do. Now, sometimes there will be side effects that you might not be aware of, but that's usually a result of something being in the code that was unintended, or it might be that there might, you know, be a lack of understanding that like certain concepts do other things, or not necessarily, but it's not always going to be your fault though. That's the thing. It's like sometimes things are poorly documented, or things just don't work well under certain conditions, or it might be hardware related or something, you know. Yeah, so I think, but that's all stuff that you learn over time. I actually kind of having trouble explaining exactly how that works. But when I started, I used Game Maker. It was version 7 all the way back from like '08, I think. Um, and that was a pretty good place to learn, because, you know, I was brand new to game development. I was brand new to programming. Um, but it worked well because they had a drag and drop system. So your coding was basically just by dragging and dropping coroutines into an object template, and you just did that, and you could do a lot of basic stuff with that. But what was also really cool is that GameMaker also did have its own coding language, so it let me ease into programming with scripting that way as well. Godot doesn't have a drag and drop system. I think it might have used to, but so it's a little bit harder in that sense, like if you're an absolute beginner. But it's, yeah, but I think, I think number one thing is really just getting in there. I'm not sure if Godot is the most beginner-friendly engine now that I think about it. Um, it could be, like, for me, I love like GameMaker as a beginner's engine. Like, it was great. I don't know if I could say the same about GameMaker Studio, but like the old GameMaker, there are other beginner-friendly game development tools. I think you mentioned one. Scratch, I think. Yeah. But there's another one called Construct that my college was teaching for a little bit too. That's beginner friendly, and I think that harkens a little bit to like how I learned with GameMaker at first. Yeah. Excuse me. And I echo sentiment here too. Um, it's a matter of trying to say like I need this thing, and then try to build that thing. And use all the resources you can, whether it's tutorials or documentation or anything. You can learn pretty fast too just by saying I want this feature to be in my game, and how do I put it in there? What am I using as a reference? This. But yeah, right now I'm kind of just toying around. I wanted to see if I could get a similar face structure to this. I'm not an expert at sculpting, so I kind of want to see. Um, my goal is to see if I can make a slightly better version of face I have, but this was also in a new style, so I kind of had to test around and see if this is even worth the time. But yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna just play around with this for a little bit. Okay, so now we have something here. Now I gotta start adding facial features. I'm gonna skip the eyes for a moment. We'll try to do nose and mouth stuff. So what I'm gonna do for that is here you can see a nose. So I'm just gonna add another cube. Let me hide the other one for a sec. And what we're going to do is these lines. Then I'm just going to just kind of mold this into place here. And then I can use the remesh tool. Yeah. Use the remesh tool to continue doing that. Down a little bit. I think yes, pretty good. How's that look? Okay, now we just gotta point it in. Or yeah, the one problem with using the grab tool is that it kind of grabs it from the wrong side sometimes. I could just smooth this out though. So yeah, I think the nose should be wider and then narrower, kind of like this. That, and then I can go in here and readjust that shape. Okay, and this is where I would want to use like an inflate brush or something to get that shape. Now, if we remesh, and what I want to do is we use the clay strips brush. We can cut some holes in here. Let me remove the reference images for now. Okay, maybe not so big there. I'm gonna also point the nose in more too. And this is where I can kind of just make it look more like I want it to. We use the crease brush, maybe like this a little bit. Smooth it a tiny bit. Okay. It's a nose. It looks like a nose, I think. Oh wow, okay, I gotta catch up here. Where'd you find your references? I like it. This one was just on Pinterest. Here, let me find the link to it. I'll put it in the chat here. See, I don't necessarily like the idea of copying, but when it's for like kind of learning, I think it's fine. Plus, I'm gonna derive from it anyway. Where can I find this? Give me one sec. I think it was in here. Here it is. Okay. Not an expert. It's going as fully custom made character. Well, to be fair, the character was mostly polymodeled. I am trying to learn sculpting a little bit more because I do want to learn it and try to download information on it so I could teach you all about it too. I think, like, I understand the basics of sculpting. I think I get stuck with trying to visualize the forms I want to make. Like when I try to, you know, make this head or the lips or something like that, like I can't quite just get the look I'm looking for. Like, so it's like a bit of an artistic block. If you're really about finding a good reference, I tried to commission artists to make a nice 2D character design and they scammed me. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, it's you know, is like for the longest time I've always tried to do things by myself. Um and it's not always the most efficient thing to do because then it's like you don't get feedback on anything. It's like, but then it's also hard to find trustworthy things on the internet, so it's a catch-22, right? Um I'm not going to have my computer, so I might try sculpting something using a phone app. Yeah, never really tried doing that. I have an iPad, but I like hardly ever use it. And I have a pen too, but like I thought about using it for drawing. But I have this tablet here with a touch screen, so I'd rather just do it directly in the computer. Yeah. Is open world realistically possible to make by a solo dev? Well, to be fair, my game is not going to be open world. I actually don't think I specified either way earlier, but it's not going to be open world. As cool as it sounds, I am trying to find ways to reduce the scope of the game as much as I possibly can because I know it's like it's already kind of getting out of hand. But I kind of thinking it kind of similar like how Fire Emblem is structured, where it's kind of like a series of combats. It will be kind of more like that, but there will be like some downtime things too, like you could explore towns and stuff. Um, I'm gonna sit down and work through the design stuff a bit more over time, but I'll have a more concrete vision of that some point. Yeah, the nose. I can't be too upset about this. This looks pretty alright. Um, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll kind of make the nostril part go out a little bit, and this go in a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, if I go here, I'll have to move the head back. Gotta find a shortcut key. There's a way you could select. Let me find the key for it. They changed this one too. I think it was Alt Q. Let's try that. There we go. Alt Q, which is, I need to change that. See if there's a better way to do that. Does tilde do anything? It does. Orbit view. Trying to think. Transfer sculpt mode. Change shortcut. Here we go. Tilde. Does that work? There we go. Nice. Set my tilde key. Perfect. All right. So now we could select this head. Yeah, no problem. Let's see. Make it a very empty open world. Yeah. I'd rather not do that. I think I'd rather not build an open world to make an empty open world, personally. Yeah, Juice Galaxy is a good example of a solo dev open world. Yeah, it's a yeah, I'm not familiar with that game, but yeah, I know a few solo devs have tried to build open worlds, and some of them got pretty far with it. Um, yeah, let's see. Would you say sculpting is 100% necessary to learn Blender? No, not at all. I personally like starting like as a beginner, like starting with poly modeling, because there's a lot of core concepts there that I think translate well to anything you do in a program. Plus, I think using both the sculpting tools and the poly modeling tools and knowing how to use both is very effective. You'll see even like sculptors using poly modeling tools once in a while, like they'll make a base mesh or something like that, and vice versa. Like even if you do poly modeling, you can still open the sculpting mode and use the grab brush and move things around. It's useful. Highly depend. Yeah, let's see. Yep. Solo dev as a programmer. Yeah, programming is my strongest suit. My day job is actually software engineering. Not actually working right now, but I'm about to go back to work soon. We're just trying to work through some things. But yeah, so I think because of that, like I don't feel the need as much to like learn a bunch of programming stuff personally. Like obviously there's still stuff I need to learn, like with regards to Godot and stuff like that, and it's not like I know everything. But like I think the art stuff is there's a lot more here for me to like improve on and everything. So like it's good to be able to focus on this kind of stuff. Yeah, I think as as was pointed out as well, is that over time you could build a library of stuff. Like I have hands that I made. I'm just gonna reuse them on every character because I ain't gonna do that again. As an example. Okay, now I wanna try to flatten this part out, and we want to get this here. So now we should be able to see the nose. Okay. So now the nose can be. So now here's what we'll do. Remesh it as well. And now I just gotta smooth it out. Actually, you know what? Have to lower the voxel size even more. I hope that's enough. There we go. Yeah, that's good. And you're just gonna smooth in here. There we go. And then might want to actually crease the nose on here a little bit. So another thing is that typically there's kind of like where the eyes would be, there would be, yeah, you could see like this forehead come out a little bit. Smooth that much though. Okay. Now we'll have to we'll have to add cheeks and stuff like that, but see here, I got the nose on there now. Actually, nose should probably be wider like this. There we go. Now we got to do the mouth. So this is the part I'm going to struggle with. Yeah, let's see. I wonder what the model would look like. Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining the stream. I appreciate it. Idea about an open world bully game, that is interesting actually. I haven't played that game, but I'm aware of it. I have friends who've played it. That would be pretty neat. Painful to look at untextured models. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and try to tackle the lips. So I'm gonna approach this a little bit differently. I'm just gonna make separate models for this, or parts, and then we'll just connect it. Yeah, let's do that. Cause I try sculpting it on and it just ends up being a mess. that right. Shift D here too. So this is, there we go. So I'm trying to recreate the female protagonist. Maybe not recreate, but I wanted to try to improve it. Here, I'll bring it back real quick so you can see. Here. So, yeah, so a couple of things too is like I wanted to see if I could, even though it's not supposed to be highly detailed, I want to see if I could add a little more detail. See if I could get the poly count to a more reasonable size as well. Just some things to think about. Also, I want to see if I can improve the face. Like the mouth is really quite creepy. I think the shape of the nose is a little messed up too. So I want to see if I could make some improvements to it. But I think the general art style is going to stay the same because, like, for me, I want to, like, I like the toon style to begin with, but also I want to choose an art style that's feasible for me to actually implement too. Even though I think down the line I want to get some artist help, but I think I still want to do as much as I can on my own, especially since it's fun to learn too. What I probably will do is look for artists like for environment related stuff or enemies or something like that. Even if it means I do most of the character work myself. We'll have to see. Only time will tell. But so actually, yeah, I want to redo these braids too. But yeah, and then she's missing the belt part too. So yeah, this is about 60,000 triangles, which is higher than average, but I also can allow for a higher than average poly count in my game because it's not going to be a highly detailed type game anyway, and it's not going to run on mobile devices, so it's like I could get away with a little bit more. But my other model did have a lot more than it needed, so I wanted to try to trim it down a little bit. Anyway, you know what I'll do is I'll put these in a new collection. And then I can just hide this. We can work on this again. Okay. I'm gonna work on the lip here. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I have to do research. I definitely have to research everything that I'm gonna be doing. Mostly it's just idea stage right now. But I'd have to see, and I'd also have to legally kind of figure out that side of it too. Like I'll have to make an NDA and contracts and that type of stuff too. But it's a thought. Anyway, let's see. Okay, so the head is in the way. We'll get that out of the way. Oh, you know what? I have to apply this shape. from this angle here. Yep. And I forgot to mirror it again. Damn it. Okay. Oh yeah. That one for a second. That's okay. We're gonna keep going. Alright, here's what I'll do. So this way. Okay, I can apply that. Okay. There we go. Hide this other part of the lip. This also gets a little bit. Okay, and then yeah, I shaped the mouth properly too. Okay, and then there is the aspect. Okay, so that I have to. I see. Pull this back out. I think these references might be misaligned a little bit. That's fine though. The other thing I want to do is okay, so this part comes out. So one thing, yeah, see there should be a crevice on the lip here. Which I could actually do like just like that. But I'm going to also, with the clay strip, just extend that a little bit. You can smooth it out a little bit too. And then okay, so we'll have to see how this looks on top of the head. Okay, yeah, we'll have to probably move the head a little bit, but it kind of looks like a mustache. But here's what I'm going to do now is we're going to add back in. And then I can also adjust the shape. Yeah, now the mouth's got like a shape like that. Now let's do the bottom half. This one I think I'm just gonna try to do. So yeah, it kind of has that kind of shape. Yeah, it should be a bit like that now. Let's go ahead. Two. It's gonna be. It should be slightly inside, yep. Yeah, we'll plug it kind of like this. It's a little better. Move this a little bit too. There we go, we got something going here. I mean, it looks like lips. Let's change the shape of the bottom here a little bit. Okay, so now we just have to change. Now we just have to adjust the shape of the head here. Should be like some cheekbone here, but we're gonna have to move a little bit. chin's a little bit too pronounced. We can adjust that. Okay. This is let's look at the shape of the chin here. You know what? Yeah. I wonder if the cheeks are too much. Move that too. Okay, yeah. Okay. Same thing with this bottom half. Sorry guys, I'll get back to comments in a sec here. Just gonna keep going here. Yeah, because I think the bottom half of a lip, this bottom half should be fuller, yeah. But I can what does this look like? Okay. If I adjusted the, make it more like a smile, right? Okay, so it does look a little creepy right now. I think that's more to do with the head shape here. I think if I join the lips and then we smooth that part out, it should look a little better too. So I need to understand how this is supposed to look on the bottom view. Yeah, let's join ellipse and do that part. Yeah, as long as they have the right shape, should be okay. Oops. And this part's kind of going into. Okay. Yeah, we'll join the lips and we can probably adjust the cheeks and stuff here. Let's see. Okay. Now we just smooth it. Actually, I might need a. Let's see. If I take the crease, smooth a little bit here, but take the crease brush, try to get that. Okay, so that's what the lips look like. Yeah, it looks kind of creepy, doesn't it? Yeah, I just have to play around with the shape of the head, but at least the lips are a thing now. Can play around with. Let's do that. Yeah, I'll also just play around with the cheeks and stuff, but this does. It is coming along though. Oops. Anyway, I am way behind on comments here. Yeah. Yeah, keep more sustainable poly count is the model without subdivision in mind. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good call. Or don't overdo the subdivisions. Like, I did like 2 subdivisions on the original one. It just came out too many. If I do 1, it's a little bit more manageable. Another option too is just to yeah, if you do like 1 subdivision, then it's a little bit more controllable. I think it also depends on like the poly count you're going for. Yeah. the Genshin models, instead of focusing on the total body count, look at how thick the limbs are. Yeah, I did look at some of the Genshin Impact models. Actually, I did a little bit of research, a little bit on that too. You could see kind of where various densities are. Um, like the legs actually have like a lot less polygons. Stuff that's not really going to be deforming doesn't need as many, but smoother shapes will need more as well. Um, yeah, speaking as an artist, yeah, have to be careful about who you want. Um, so I'll have to see around when the time comes. It's nice when you have like friends who are also artists, but I don't have that. Um, the I do have a musician friend though, so that should hopefully solve that problem. I just don't know if he's going to be available when I need him. Um, the I was gonna say, yeah, hands are tricky. Um, you kind of just need them to be low poly sometimes. It's like just because, yeah, they could definitely be very, yeah, they could you when they subdivide, they get a lot of polygons there, and they're not very big a lot of the times too. So yeah, games with 360 PS3 era would get Q fingers. Yeah, you probably could. Part of that was probably because you could also use normal maps and stuff too. Um, yeah, yeah. Looking for 3D references to get a better idea of the forms and edge flows might be for easier for you than 2D refs. Yeah, yeah. Most certainly. Yeah. Also, just kind of trying to understand like when you go into the face stuff, it's definitely like a lot different. So yeah, I do like using Sketchfab as a resource, generally speaking. But yeah, this is where I probably would just see if I can improve upon it and stuff at this point. Yeah, I'm gonna. The chin, I think I'm gonna mess around with here. Um, Chin's a little bit too pointy, I think. Oops. The cheeks are also a little bit. Yeah, this is where I probably at this point don't like follow the reference nearly as much. I just try to adjust it on my own. Okay. This can go up too. This is also needs to be slightly rounder, I think. looks a little bit better. I'll have to do eyes too, of course. But one thing at a time here. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I do appreciate the advice. Um, yeah, I think yeah, developing a critical eye is interesting because it's like being able to see like mistakes is one thing, but also trying to visualize the correct way to do it as well as another thing. It's like identifying problems is the first step, but like also being able to fix it is a whole nother thing too. Okay, so what I really wanted to do. Alright, so I'm gonna roll with this for now. We can also probably smooth that out a bit. Yep. I wanted to just kind of test how this would look in regards to like the tune shading and stuff too. But you know, for an attempt at a sculpted head, I can't complain. So let's take a look at. Let's go ahead and apply the tune shader to it. Let me go ahead. Uh-oh. Okay. So that's what that looks like. From the side view. So it's kind of neat. We'll have to figure out exactly how this would look. That's funny. Here, it's intersecting with the other head. Let me take that out for a sec. Duck face, yep. Yeah, I think also due to stylized nature, this bottom lip's a little bit too pronounced. Might want to adjust that. Oops. Yeah, I'll just maybe do a couple smooth passes on it. Actually, the lips in general are too far out. Okay, yeah, so the nose looks pretty alright though. And then we'll have to change the about the shape of the head too. I'm not sure. Hmm. So yeah, it's like a little bit. Okay, so if we looked at like the old head as opposed to this new one, see, you could see the chin's a little bit too pronounced, I would say. The shape of the nose is interesting too. Actually, is the way to reference at it? I mean, more or less, yeah. Although I do need to curve it a little bit. Yeah, it's like kind of like I think it's like how stylized do I want the character to be? Yeah, I think we want the chin to be in more. And you probably don't want our chin to be that far down either. Like I'm okay with making the head a little bit shorter too. Now I'd also have to probably point this in more too. Oops. So now if we look at it now, yeah, because it does get that kind of, the lips do get a little bit, are a bit extended out, so I think I do. Wonder if I want to make a duplicate of this. So I wanted to experiment mostly with like lips. Let's see. Maybe if let's just pull them back. Oops. Okay, it looks a little bit more tame. But like there's still lips. I gotta add the crease back too. Yeah, so the shading will be, I will have to adjust the face shading, but at least there are lips now. I think, actually I do want to do, I want to pull this down a little bit. Yeah. Yep, lips. Alright, also make his smile. What's a smile? There we go. Like one of these kind of. Actually, no, I'm gonna back that. Yeah, so I think if we kind of adjust the existing head kind of like around this, we could do something. Doesn't have to be like identical, but it was to kind of explore some ideas. Also this little yeah, that's kind of why, like, when you mix stylized and realistic, although to be fair, that reference wasn't really realistic, but you mix like the two styles, it's kind of hard to follow. If you're trying to make something stylized from a realistic reference, it doesn't always work the same way. But that's okay. At least we did something. At least I know I could sculpt a head of some kind. Now, like, where to go from here? Bring back this here. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do is this head back here. I'm actually going to go ahead and change visibility. Yeah, well, it is something that I've also kind of seen a little bit going into this. It's like stylization is definitely not quite as simple as it appears. Because it's almost like you need to know the rules and then how to bend them. Not exactly just like, okay, what are the rules? There are certainly less details on a stylized model. Not, I mean, I guess that also depends, but it definitely does get a little tricky. Certainly something I've realized too. I was like, it's not quite as easy as I expected myself either. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to adjust kind of the shape of this model here, right? To that of the just to get a general shape here. ellipse too. Whether or not I want to actually make the head larger or not is a different story. I can kind of see, what does this look like? A profile. There's also I had to so yeah, the mouse is screwed up, but that's okay. I'll mess with that. The shape of the nose go a little bit more like that. Yep. Okay, yeah, so yeah, it's like totally different shapes to the faces and stuff like that too. Let me hide this for a sec. You can see how some of this like this bottom. Yeah, and then there's also just this here. Okay, so now you can't even see the mouth at all. Okay. So I'm like not sure how much better that is actually. Not really any better. What is this? This was, I think I have a backup of the head. Yeah, I do. So like this one. Worth playing around with though. I think what I have to do is something like this. Make that a little bit wider. Yeah, this, if anything, this does kind of show um, that maybe like the style I originally had was still somewhat fine. Might just have to make um, might just have to make um, I was gonna say some adjustments and stuff. But like I think with the silhouette here, you can kind of see like the lips sticking out aren't quite as, you know, appealing. I don't think. Um, Although the nose shape looks, I think, generally okay, and stuff like that. I just have to also move the hair and stuff a little bit. So there are some aspects I could probably work around here. I would also want to get the eyes. I want to look at the eyes as well. This is interesting though. Right. Look at the old head. Right. Also think about how it's shaded and all that stuff too. So I do think I also want to mess around with the eyes. So I think what I might do is do like a retopology pass on the new head, and then we can kind of adjust it with when there's like fewer vertices maybe. But there are aspects I could probably work around. Also, I think yeah, one thing you notice too, like with anime style, is that the heads are usually a bit wider. The jaw doesn't extend quite as far, and the forehead's a little bit larger too. But the forehead's usually covered with hair. Um, so even though this was a stylized reference, it's a little bit more grounded in reality. But it's interesting to test that kind of thing. Okay, this wasn't really. Let me adjust here. Okay. Let me look at that. So I might just kind of go back to like this style. But I think I'm gonna hop off the stream for today. But it does give me some things to think about. I think I'm also gonna try to redo the eyes too and see maybe if I could do something better around there. And then we could do and then maybe if I could kind of combine some of the things and make the head shape a little bit more appealing. Yeah, like I like the anime style, but I don't want it to be like. I want. I'm trying to think. I don't want like the complete like anime proportion. Like I want it to be a little less anime, but still anime. If you know what I mean. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Thank you all for joining. I'll catch you in the next one. I think I might be away tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to stream or not. But we'll see. Anyway, yep. Thank you all, and take it easy. Take it easy.